Okay, so this is back on stormwater management. I've got a quote from the August 11th Des Moines Register, and it's a commentary on our sewer system. And it says that, and this is from the flooding that we had this past summer. The storm and sanitary systems are just inundated. Things have reached a point where even modest rainfall could cause sewer failures like those seen 2 years ago in 2008. Miraculously, the pipes to date have held up. We've not had major collapses like we did in 2008, but that's the next crisis to solve, unfortunately. If we have any additional strain on the system, then it'll start causing the pipes to collapse. Are we in trouble here in Des Moines, the sewer system?
Certainly, and that the context of that in August was essentially 3-inch rains on 3 consecutive days. Sunday the 8th, as I recall, Monday the 9th, and Tuesday the 10th. We had about 3-inch rains in the evening hours going into early morning on each of those 3 days. Anytime a system, an infrastructure system, is under that kind of strain, we're in trouble. And whether it's Des Moines with an older system or whether it's a newer community like Johnston, our systems are built with particular assumptions and a particular design expectancy. It's like you getting in your car and instead of driving 70 miles an hour, floor it and drive all the way from here to Ames. It'll fail at some point if you make it to Ames and then keep going north on 35. The system really isn't made for that length of and amount of duress. Or if I'm put on a treadmill and have to give it my all for 3 hours, at some point there's likely to be a collapse of the system, me in that case. The same is true with any kind of infrastructure system. They're built with a particular design expectancy. Mother Nature, the last several years, has really gone beyond any reasonable design capability in water systems and sewer systems and street systems. We're just not made, our systems are not made for 3 consecutive 3-inch rains. And in August we had that kind of circumstance, actually had detention basins, which are basically lakes. We have about 28 or 29 of them in Des Moines, 8 of them overtopped simply because there was no way for the water to go and they exceeded their design capability. So when we see those kind of aberrational, what used to be aberrational weather events, high rain events or high snow events, we had about 6 feet of snow in Des Moines last year. We typically would have only 3 feet of snow. Something obviously, and I'll leave it to others to talk about climate change and really disruption in weather events. But at the end of the day, our systems were never built with the idea that we would face that kind of hardship. And if they happen day after day, like they did in August, we are in trouble.
Okay. Let's see. Des Moines has over 40 million in stormwater and flood improvements scheduled between now and 2013. The city is also in the midst of a mandated 13-year plan to make storm and sanitary sewer improvements to comply with the Federal Clean Water Act. Total costs for the sewer projects are expected to exceed $200 million for the next 13 years. And that's a tab shared by the city and Wastewater Reclamation Authority, and then the 16 metro area cities and counties and sewer districts. And state and federal money is being pursued. I was wondering, has there been progress on that pursuit of federal and state dollars?
Yes, we're very fortunate. The iJobs program that Governor Culver really spearheaded for the last several years brought Des Moines and central Iowa a number of different state dollars that were very important. Federal dollars are more difficult to acquire now. We had some infrastructure dollars coming through congressional earmarks. Congressman Boswell, Senator Harkin, Senator Grassley have been pretty influential in helping to provide money for levee rebuilds, as an example. But the $200 million, only a small piece of it are really coming from those sources. Most of it come from you and I as ratepayers. Every time we pay our water bill, you pay how much for the potable water, you pay for sewer, and then you pay a stormwater fee associated with that also here in Des Moines. Those are the 3 things that come together to pay the lion's share of the $200 million. There's some federal dollars and some state dollars in it, but almost all of it realistically is coming from you and I as private residents who are contributing to that.
Is that why there's a rate hike in the foreseeable future?
Yes, particularly in the sanitary sewer area, that funds most of the improvements that we're talking about. And there is scheduled actually on Monday night, the city council will hopefully approve the third reading of a 4% rate increase that begins, I believe, January 1 of 2013.
Okay, so this is more about our winter storm season. And this is something that I saw in the October 26th Des Moines Register. And this is about the snow priority streets. And so it's kind of a change from the way things used to be. Is this the first year for that program?
It is, at least at that magnitude, Lee. Let me go back for a minute. If you were to talk with any of the 200 or so people that I work with that actually plow snow, that are out there driving it and plowing it, they'll tell you that the biggest single impediment to not doing things quicker and more efficiently in Des Moines is people parking their cars on the street as we're trying to plow. Street parking is a huge issue, and generally not a problem on snow routes on arterial streets like Grand Avenue or Hickman or Fleur Drive or Army Post or Williams Boulevard, First or 63rd here in Des Moines. Those are not huge issues because they're arterial streets, and we've for a long time prohibited parking while we're plowing on those. But that's only, Des Moines has roughly 2,200 lane miles of streets. Roughly 2/3 of them are in our neighborhoods, and neighborhoods generally have not had any restrictions on parking at all during snow events. We've worked with 16 neighborhoods out of about 52 in Des Moines. 16 neighborhoods have come forward and said, we think that you will plow our streets more quickly if we restrict on street parking during snowstorms. And they have worked with us. There are 16 neighborhoods, and it's on the website. If people go to the Public Works portion of the city of Des Moines, you'll see 16 neighborhoods where it's going to be prohibited until we plow it the first time after a snow. But we think that'll be hugely beneficial. And we know there's some inconvenience. Most of us love to be able to park on the street so we can do our driveways. It may have to be the other way around. We may have to be in our driveways first, wait till the streets get plowed, and then move to them. And that's perfectly acceptable. But what we see almost universally in Des Moines and don't see in our suburbs, as an example, are people parking on the streets, creating the need to replow and really slowing down how we progress through neighborhoods. There's a technology that essentially is an addition onto a regular plow called the wing plow that lets you plow faster and more efficiently. When people park on the street, we can't use that technology. So we're working very hard with the 16 neighborhoods in Des Moines that have allowed us to restrict parking during snow events. We're going to be doing their neighborhoods far more efficiently, and hopefully then taking those resources and moving them citywide. But this idea of on-street parking in Des Moines when all of our suburbs restricted during snowstorms is really something we're trying to get our hands around. Realistically, there are areas of Des Moines, Sherman Hill, Drake, that it probably is going to be very difficult to restrict on-street parking on. There isn't enough local parking in Sherman Hill, as an example, because of the high density multifamily uses, apartments in particular. There isn't enough parking other than on street, so we may not ever be able to, in the foreseeable future, restrict parking in those neighborhoods. But neighborhoods like mine, largely residential, everybody has a driveway. It makes a lot of sense and will actually increase our ability by not allowing people to park on the street during our plowing events to be able to get through those neighborhoods quickly.